Today I wanted to look at the Kenya budget that they just released today in Nairobi through the Minister of Finance. And my interest is in simply going over through the numbers to see which way the elite is trying to direct Kenya to, and to see whether it's going to be beneficial or not. Now, by any means, the budget, the amount that they want to spend is a huge amount. They want to spend 3.6 trillion shillings, which is a huge amount for Kenya. Now, our interest is not in everything, it's not in all the allocation. We just want to look at the amount of money they want to spend on development. Now, on development, by which we mean infrastructure, public goods like that, roads, bridges, things of that nature. Of the 3.6 trillion, they want to spend about 700 billion. And the recurrent expenditure is 1.3 trillion. So just by those two numbers, we can see that almost half the budget, not really, almost half the budget is going to recurrent costs, which are salaries, wages, things of that nature, office supplies, things of that nature. And the development budget is 700 billion, which is very little. I mean, it's lopsided. They are supposed to be spending 1.5 trillion on development and like 700 billion on the salaries and wages. But you know, the main industry in Kenya is government. There are no industries in Kenya. You know, there is no car manufacturing, there is no motorcycle manufacturing, bicycle manufacturing, textiles, chemicals. There's almost no manufacturing in Kenya. So the main activity that Kenyans are, busy themselves, other than hawking and peddling imported cheap junk, is governance. Government is the biggest employer. So most departments are bloated by people who really are not very efficient. And so you find that they're spending more money servicing these salaries and wages rather than investing in the economy in order to expand the economy and create jobs outside of government. So just from their location, you can see that the country will, for the next year at least, will still be a third world country. Because their location is wrong. This is just wrong. Spending most of your money on bills rather than investment, you'll never get out of poverty. But this budget, as you very well know, or you may not know this, has been approved from London. So they don't do anything without, first of all, London saying yes. So London has said yes, that this is the way you're supposed to spend your money. And of course, we can clearly see that it is a very third world way of spending money. Now, the other interesting thing is that the amount of revenue they are saying that they will collect is about 2 trillion. That's what they are hoping they will be able to collect out of an economy that has been devastated by the criminal lockdowns that the Mzungu told them to implement. So how they're going to collect 2.2 trillion from this economy, I think it's a big joke. I don't think it's possible. But anyway, they're hoping that they're going to collect the 2 trillion. And the 3.6 trillion, the 1.6 trillion that they say they're going to spend, that they will not collect, it's not clear where they're going to get this money from. When I'm looking at these numbers, it's not at all clear. And the other thing you need to remember is that the huge loan payment, the amount of money that they're paying in loans, I think just servicing the debt is about 600 billion that they are revealing to us. It's most likely a whole lot more. But they're revealing that of this budget, 600 billion is going to service the debt. Therefore, the amount that will be invested in public infrastructure is the same amount as the amount of money they're spending in debt. So you can clearly see we're in trouble. Now, looking at some of the other ways that they're going to get money to spend is that they've raised certain duties on imported goods. but not on the important imported goods. For example, they haven't raised the taxes on imported textiles or fully manufactured clothes. Why? Because that will not make London and Washington happy. And so because they haven't done that, we know that there will be no textile industry coming up. They haven't raised taxes on fully manufactured shoes. Yeah, and handbags and things of that nature. You know, mass market goods. Why? Because London and Washington will not be happy if the taxes are raised on shoes, fully manufactured shoes. Now you wonder why. Why would they not be happy? Well, because a lot of the shoes that are sold in Kenya come from England, and they come from the United States. Yeah, used clothing, used shoes. Yeah, when people die in America and England, you know, when the families clear the dead people's clothes, those clothes go somewhere. They are dumped in Kenya. And so the government refused or avoided raising or outright banning the importation of those goods, because we need a textile industry. Because if you have a textile industry, you immediately create 300,000 jobs today. Just think the number of people you need to clothe 45 million people, or to put shoes on the feet of 45 million people. That's a lot of people. So those are ready-made jobs, but they won't do it. Why? Because they have to keep the Mzungu happy. This is all about the Mzungu. Okay? So they didn't mention anything about that, but they raised taxes on fairly unhelpful things. Like when you look at the things that they're saying that they're raising taxes on, these are things that are very marginal in the economy. So they won't, not many people import those things, not many people use those things, so they won't raise a lot of revenue from that. And the other thing that they did, they exempted British goods from taxes. And now they also exempted Japanese from paying any taxes. So when you import, when the British sell Johnny Walker in Kenya or Jameson in Kenya, they don't pay taxes. Now this is a mass market product, right? Because I mean the alcohol industry in Kenya is controlled by the British. Almost 95% of the market belongs to the British, and only British products are sold. They dominate the market, in case you didn't know. Now those that 95% of that market doesn't pay taxes, does not pay taxes, and they will not pay taxes for the next 25 years. Why? Because the children of the home guards, you know, have sold the country out. You know, so I'm not sure how they're planning, by what miracle they're going to raise this money without taxing those British products or taxing the Japanese products. You know, so it means that when the Japanese sell their cars in Kenya, they don't pay taxes. But you, when you buy that car, you pay taxes, you pay VAT. But the Japanese don't pay any tax to bring the goods into Kenya. Same thing when you buy a Johnny Walker, you will pay VAT, you'll pay sales tax. But the British will not pay any taxes to bring the goods into Kenya. You see how that plays? It's beyond ridiculous. You know, being ruled by sellouts, sometimes it's very exhausting. It's beyond offensive. You know, so when you look at for health, the allocation for health, they are saying they're going to allocate 121 billion. Now, when you look at this issue of the debt issue is even worse than you're thinking, because there's been a postponement of certain payments until next year, of about $600 million until next year. So without that postponement, they'd be paying the 600 billion Kenya shillings plus the $600 million as part of the debt payment, which would mean that half the budget would be going, or rather a third of the budget would be going towards debt payment. Now, when you look at this debt, and when you look at the amount of money that Kenya owes, it's like 7 trillion shillings, right? Now, when you look at this 7 trillion shillings, when you look at the investments done in Kenya, do they amount to 7 trillion shillings? Majority of the roads in Kenya are not paved. The overwhelming majority of roads. And the main road that goes from Mombasa all the way to Kisumu, the absolute main road that serves the whole of Kenya, is a pathetic single lane road. That's supposed to be an international highway. It's a pathetic single lane road. So you begin to think, with 7 trillion shillings, surely that road should be a highway, like a decent highway. You know, dualized, separated by a concrete barrier in between. But it's not. It's like a village road, a single lane road. So you begin to wonder what happened to the 7 trillion shillings that they are saying we owe for some reason. So anyway, let's continue with this budget. They also want to spend a lot of money, which I think is not fair. They want to spend a lot of money building a railway from Nairobi to Naivasha. Now you need to understand that this railway doesn't carry manufactured goods being made in Kenya. It's simply for the benefit of the Chinese, to enable them to import their goods much, much more easily into the interior of East Africa. So the railway doesn't serve us. I know people see passengers getting carried to Mombasa and it's novel, you know, they get impressed. But when you look at in terms of the benefit to the economy, it has marginal benefit to the economy. You're better off spending that money building factories. So when you look at this budget, you'll notice that there's no plans to build factories. What they're saying, they will build a fish processing plant in Lamu. That's all. A fish processing plant. As if that's what we need. How about hardcore manufacturing? Like iron and steel plant. Right? How about that? Or a motorcycle manufacturing plant. The market is huge for motorcycles in Kenya. But no, because Kenya's role in the International Division of Labor is to produce processed goods, not manufactured goods, processed. So you'll keep on seeing them saying that they're going to open up a plant to process coffee, to process tea, to process avocado, to process fish. Nothing serious, nothing mature. Nothing like, how about manufacturing iron and steel? No. Nothing serious. Always raw materials. We are never allowed to go higher than processing of raw materials. Why? Because that is the agreement that the government signed. With who? With the WTO. Yeah. Whether you believe it or not, those are the deals that these people sign. When you see them flying out every single day, they're just flying out to sell the country. They're not doing anything responsible. And I always wonder about these people who rule over Kenya. I really wonder. I'm like, even I, who's a layman, can see that these agreements are meant to be destructive. Why would you be so destructive against your own people? You know, I never understand that part. It never makes sense to me. And so, when you look at this budget, there is no allocation towards manufacturing anything. Well, they're saying they're going to spend a little bit of money to create industrial parks. For who? For foreigners. For what? So that foreigners can open up plants in Kenya to sell to third countries at no benefit to Kenya because they don't pay taxes in Kenya. And so the foreigner who's opening up that plant in this industrial park that is being opened is trying to access Europe more easily. Let's say his main office is in Asia, which is far from Europe. So they say, let us move this factory closer to Europe so that we can sell goods we can lower our costs. And so they open up the plant in a place like Kenya, for example, and they sell whatever they're making in Europe, and they're not using local inputs to make whatever they're making. It is all imported inputs, and they're not paying taxes on those imported inputs. You understand? They're given a tax break, so they don't pay any import duty to Kenya. So they bring in the raw materials from outside Kenya, pre-processed stuff, right? They make whatever they're making at that factory, and then they ship it abroad. And they don't pay income taxes in Kenya. So the only way we benefit is by the very low level jobs, because all the engineering jobs, all the serious jobs is by the foreigner, goes to the foreigner, right? So all the, the toilet cleaner, the watchman at the gate, now those are the jobs that Kenyans get. So how do we benefit from all these industrial parks? So when you look at the industrial parks in Kenya, they're all owned, everything is owned by foreigners, every single thing. And so they're saying here that they're going to allocate more money to build more industrial parks for foreigners. Nothing for us. So when you look at this budget, it shows you how skewed the thinking is and the reasoning is by the elite that rules over Kenya. Everything is done for the benefit of foreigners. This almost has nothing to do with us. Nothing to. We don't win in this situation at all. I don't see any wins here, because if you're not building factories and you're not building roads and bridges, then what are you doing? How do you spend 3.6 trillion shillings and only 600 billion is going towards actual infrastructure? 3 trillion is going to all sorts of strange things, all sorts of things. But the important things, which are factories, there's zero allocation. Zero allocation. We don't need that fish plant. What for? They're importing fish from China at a cheaper rate than local fish. And we know that the fish from China is cancer fish, right? We know it's cancer fish. It's giving so many people cancer. There's an outbreak. There's an actual pandemic in Kenya of cancer, because the fish is being imported from China. The eggs are coming from France. Yeah, think about that for 5 minutes. And so what? So this I won't say I'm disappointed in this budget. It's what I expected from this elite. So it's really sad, because it means that for the next 1 year, the trajectory of the country is still third world. I did not see any allocation towards getting people out of the slums. Nothing. So it means that the slums will get even larger. So how do you get people out of the slums? It's very simple. You allocate maybe 100 billion shillings. Yeah, you have 3.6 trillion, right? Take 100 billion shillings, buy land, split the land up, allocate plots to the people who live in slums. Get them out of the slum. Instead of giving the Japanese, tax exempt status, giving the British and their Johnny Walker tax exempt status, tax them, use that money to get people out of the slums. Like 60% of the people of Nairobi live in slums. 60%. That's a shame. 3.6 billion, and you're not getting anyone out of the slum at all. I did not see any money allocated towards getting children off the streets. I mean, we have 7-year-old children who sleep outside in the streets. 5-year-old kids, 8-year-old kids, 9-year-old kids. discarded children who live on the street, who have to fend for themselves. They did not even allocate even 1 billion towards doing something about these children. But they added an additional 900 million shillings to parliament. For what? For what? Well, so that they can buy an extra SUV. You remember they bribed the MCAs with 2 million to buy fancy cars. Yeah, so we have to pay for it now. So you can just see the incredible evil in these numbers. It's a shame. They're even spending 1 billion shillings on community scouts engagement program. Just waste of money. Absolutely ridiculous things. You know. So anyway, it wasn't surprising. It wasn't shocking. It's what I expected. And in a way, I sympathize with Kenya, but I don't sympathize with Kenyans because it's Kenyans who put these people in power. It's Kenyans who stood 5 hours in a line to give power to these people. So you get what to pay for, isn't it? Yeah. All right, thank you. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and comment below. Kenya's time has come. Our time has come. Your time has come. A time to succeed and not fail. A time to grow wealth and not poverty. A time to go up and not down. It's time for you to stop walking and drive your car. Stop renting and buy yourself a house. It's your time to get blessed. Join the CCV movement and together let us kick poverty and unemployment out of Kenya. Become a member today. Donate what you can. And remember that the CCV is the only political organization in Kenya that is squarely built upon Christian values, unlike the rest. We'll see you next time. Thank you.